All right, my friends, welcome back for our arc on Final Fantasy 1. This is episode 1. We are talking about Final Fantasy 1 and the places we went, which were more places than we planned to last time. And we'll get to that for sure. We got Travis and Tom here this week again, and I'm Larry, Prof Plays Games from the Prof Plays Games podcast. Thanks for being here for the RPG backlog. Travis, Tom, how you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, I'm excited. Let's leave it at that.
It sounded like there's a question mark at the end of that. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm good. We're good. We're good.
Awesome. How about you, Tom?
Well, like I was mentioning just before we hopped in, I'm jazzed. I've been like mainlining this game for the last almost 3 hours to try and catch up. So,
nice, perfect. You got fresh thoughts then.
I'm psyched. Yeah.
I had to put myself. I had to put the Switch down. I'm way further than where we're going to talk about tonight, and I had to put it down so I didn't get even further.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit upset with you on that one because it's like, oh, we're going to stop here. And I got there on like Friday and I was like, okay, I have to stop. And I forced myself to put the freaking Steam Deck down. I'm like putting the deck down, not touching the shit. And then literally the next day, like, oh, I blew past that point. I'm like, mother, you son of a. All right, so we're going to go to this point now, right? You're like, yeah, we're going to go to this point. Oh, yeah, I blew past that point now, too. I'm like, come on, man. Stop doing this to me. Like, I've been good in purposely stopping. And literally within the first hour of this game, I remember messaging you guys, go like, oh, this is my shit. This is my game. This is my jam. Mm-hmm. And I've been being good, and here you are just blasting through it. So
no one's ever accused me of being good. So there you go. There's your proof.
Yeah.
But this week, just so everyone knows who's listening, we're going to talk about the first 6 pieces of the RPG site guide, which is Cornelia and the whole beginning part, and then the Chaos Shrine, and then moving on to the Witch, Matoya, and then Pravoka Town with the pirates. And then you get a boat and you go to Elfheim. And then we're going to go to the Marsh Cave and get the crown. And then we're going to get the Crystal Eye, the Jolt Tonic, and the Nitro Powder to get the key to go unlock some stuff. That's as far as we're going today. So why don't we start with just overall thoughts? Obviously, since we couldn't put it down, I think we have positive thoughts. But Tom, you were playing right before we got here. So why don't you start?
Sure. And actually, so maybe even as like I have thoughts, but kind of like as a preamble to this, something I'm kind of curious to poll you guys on since we just started. What, because we talked about this in the Zero episode, what settings did you end up landing on in terms of the visuals and the audio?
So audio for me is orchestrated.
Okay.
I don't know if I made any changes to the visuals. Maybe I'm not remembering that we even could have.
It's the menus, I think is what he's referring to.
So I'll just say what I did with mine, because I was sort of playing with this because I didn't have any problems like booting it up. I was like, oh, this is fine. But I was just dinking around in the menus, and I have put the music back to the old timey music.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I have been playing with, there's like, you can throw filters on it so it looks all fuzzy like a CRT.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that.
And after I did that, it was just like between the old timey music and like the fuzzy ass graphics, I was like, yes, this is, it hit so nice. Just like something, it just fits so well for something that's kind of old like this. And anyway, so I've been, that aesthetic of it, I've actually really been enjoying, despite the fact that it's sort of old on purpose.
Okay, now I'm grabbing my Steam Deck real quick because I'm like, wait, I don't remember seeing so I remember seeing the music, which I switched it to the classical music. The current version I'm totally cool with. It reminded me specifically of Final Fantasy VII the second it started up. Mm-hmm. And I mean the original Final Fantasy VII. When I switched it to the classic music, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is cool." And I switched it to the retro menus, but now I'm like, "Wait, was there another setting in there that I missed?" So I gotta grab my Steam Deck now. I can't wait.
On mine, it's under configuration in like the standard menu that you get to like equip and use magic and stuff like that. And for mine, it's graphic display and font style and background music. It's near the bottom of the configuration menu. So.
That's interesting because I definitely switched. I played around with the music and listened to the original music, and I was like, yeah, I know that's what it sounded like. No thanks. The orchestra is just so good. So good, but I didn't notice the visual stuff.
On the music, did anybody clock the Overworld theme where you may have heard that before? I think that the leitmotif of that is the underpinning of Sid's theme from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I'm sure it showed up a bunch of other places, but I my notebook's not with me. But that was one of the first things I jotted down. Was like, oh, and I know this theme from somewhere, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Sid's theme that uses it. So interesting.
I mean, this is the original, right? So these pieces we hear throughout the rest of Final Fantasy games, I would assume, because they are riffing on some stuff.
And the main theme too, the crystal theme or whatever they call it, that was just that was really nice too.
I love that one.
It's like an old sweatshirt or something. You pull that on, it just feels good.
Well, I've been talking to Anthony about that. I didn't play Final Fantasy until Final Fantasy 15 in 2015. That was the first one I ever played and beat. So I don't have like a long history of nostalgia with this series, except for listening to Travis play and watching him play. But that opening theme is it just hits me like almost nostalgically now, and I'm like, well, I haven't been associated with this theme for more than like 10 years, but it really does feel like an old sweater. Something feels so comfy and cozy. Making up for lost time, because that's for me, it's like the old Final Fantasy VII on the original PlayStation. Like if you don't like, you just boot up the game, and if you just don't even press start to get into the menu, that's what's playing in the background. And I would sometimes just like leave the menu running because it sounded so nice. Was leaving space for Travis to talk, but he didn't.
I mean, I didn't. As I said, when I first booted it up and I had it in the current music, the modernized version. As I said, dude, the second note hit, I was like, my brain immediately was Final Fantasy VII. Like it was instantaneously. I was back in high school, sitting in front of the TV, the old school freaking tube television with the PS1 hooked up. It hit for me right out the door. And I just pulled out my deck to just see what the settings do. And there is the setting to switch it back to the classic screen setting.
Yeah, I never noticed that.
And it's just called graphic display in here in mine. It's either standard or classic. And when I'm in the menus, the classic, I'm like, oh God, yes, I am back home. I am Final Fantasy VII in the old school days. But then the second I go to the overworld, it just kind of looks blurry and a little bit jank on the deck. It is blurry, but I mean that's what they're going for. Mine even has like horizontal scan lines on it. Yeah, I have the horizontal scan lines on and everything. And maybe now my problem is that I've just been too long without that it just, or maybe it's because I'm wearing glasses and my eyes are just getting old and decrepit, and it doesn't. But I did it at the very beginning because I was like, well, whatever you play the first hour or so of this in is going to be what you get used to. And so that's why I tinkered with that right out of the gate. But I am switched to the classic font style on the original music and sounds.
Oh man, I've done all the modern font, modern music.
Well, that's good. We'll get the gamut then.
Yeah, exactly. But I did go onto eBay and buy a loose cart of Final Fantasy for the NES. So I do want to check that out before, and I'll have it before the podcast. We're done with this arc, so I'll be able to talk about it.
Do you need special hardware now how do you get an NES plugged into a modern television?
So they have I don't know the name of the one that I have, but it's like I went to the game store and they had a new NES basically that has HDMI.
Okay. All right. Some phone thing with proper outputs now.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. There's also, let's see, I think I have one in my Amazon cart. So it's called an RCA to HDMI converter. And they're like $10-13. You can get them relatively inexpensive.
I ask because I feel like I've seen people talk about like pretty high end, like expensive electronics for things like GameCube that will get your GameCube into a monitor. Like I feel like you could easily spend like $60 or $70 on whatever that gadget is. But maybe maybe it has some like upscaling baked in or something like that. I don't know.
Well, the new one and Travis, maybe you remember the name of it, but the company that did the
Analog.
Nintendo, Analog. Thank you. They're doing the N64 now, and it's $250 for a N64 that up-reses to 4K. It plays all the original N64 carts, and it plugs into the HDMI or whatever. So there's a company that does retro consoles with new shit.
I heard that it outputs 4K, but it's not. They don't clean anything up. Like it's you're getting all the polygons in.
Oh yeah, you are.
Worth of polygons,
which I think is what people who are buying this thing want.
Yeah, I've seen like in a lot of the popular press though that people sort of play fast and loose with that description, and there's some like really misleading like photos that accompany these articles, and it's like, man, somebody's going to drop like $300 on this freaking analog N64 thing, and they're going to be pretty disappointed when it looks just like it did in 1990 whatever. But that's the point.
But that's the point. Analog has had a long history of making consoles, these retro consoles that people love. So they're not, they're not lying and they're not fucking with people. But
no. But I think this N64 one really that sort of took off and people were interested in it. So
yeah, definitely.
Anyways, we
even have like an N64 controller that 8-bit though, I think, right? Yeah, 8-bit.
Yeah, 8-bit dude does.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the original NES controllers too that they do as well.
Yeah.
And Genesis and all of them. And they even have ones with the Bluetooth and the adapters that will plug into the original NES console for the Bluetooth controller.
Yeah.
So, but there's other things out there like the one that I plan on getting is called Save the Hero, and it's a cartridge reader, and what it does is you put your cartridge in there and it rips it and makes a ROM out of it for you, so then you can then use it on any of your own devices.
Oh, this looks dope. I just Googled that up. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's not just NES. It's like you can get set up to where it does Game Boy Advance, NES, Super Nintendo, N64. Like it does all the cartridges and Genesis, all of them.
Yeah, this one I'm looking at right now has N64, Genesis, and SNES on the same one. That's interesting. We're a little far afield.
Totally off. Yeah, totally off the wall from what we're starting on. But yeah.
So how was Cornelia then?
I think I talked last time that I started and then went to the Chaos Shrine quickly and got wiped. So this time in Cornelia, I just did some grinding around Cornelia. Wandered around the town, probably 10 loops, doing grinding to get experience before I went to the Chaos Shrine, and that worked way better. Like it was nothing. It was easy. I don't know. I think last time I just ran to it and got completely hosed.
I have a theory about or at least I'm going to go ahead and say that what happened to me is what was supposed to happen, and this is what they intended there, right? Because I was sort of just dinking around and playing with the dudes or whatever, and fighting some guys, and in one random encounter, my friggin' black mage got killed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bummer! That kind of sucks. All right, well, I'll head back to town and I'll just go to the inn. It's like, okay, they don't revive going to the inn. That's a bummer. I guess I'll go buy a Phoenix Down. Phoenix Down costs what? I'd already spent all my money on equipment and stuff, and so I had to grind for, I think they're 500 gil or something.
They are 500 gil, yeah.
Grinding for 500 gil at that point in the game took some serious time.
Oh, you didn't go to the church?
There's a church? Is that the little dude who tells you that there's no errands or anything right now?
Yeah, exactly. Like you have no one who needs my services, but if you have someone who's dead, you go to the church and they res them for like 80 or 50 gil or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, then what I did is not what you're supposed to do.
Well, actually, I probably not, but you grinded it out. But the thing that's interesting, there's a podcast. I don't know if either of you know it. It's called "No One Can Ever Know About This." Do you know this podcast?
No.
I'm not familiar with it.
It's two friends. One friend who was like who doesn't play JRPGs, and he's like, I want to play JRPGs. So like, let's do a podcast where we record ourselves playing every single Final Fantasy. So I went back and started listening to the Final Fantasy 1 version. They're playing on the NES. They're not playing the Pixel Remaster or anything. There was no Phoenix Down. You couldn't grind for that at all. It didn't exist in the game. So you could only go to the church. So here we have some quality of life. One of them is a Phoenix Down, which we are, used to after playing so many other Final Fantasies, but it was never in 1. It's in the Pixel Remaster though.
The difference being that just lets you do it out in the world versus having to go to a town.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
But
I'm really glad because I think I would have gone the whole game without having figured that out.
This is why I love this podcast, because every time, that at least I'll speak for myself, I have not figured something out, and then I come and talk to y'all, and you're like, hey, do it this way. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that makes sense. I'm so glad I'm on the other side of it this time.
And it's appreciated. That's wonderful.
Oh man.
Yeah, Phoenix Downs were not introduced until Final Fantasy 2.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? Because when your character's dead, you don't gain experience. So like literally you probably gained a level or 2 grinding out that amount of experience for your main characters.
Behind for a long time now. It's just now sort of coming up to parity with the others.
Well, it sucks when they die mid-battle and you're like, fuck, he really helped in this battle, but he didn't get any of the experience.
Yeah. Well, when we get further into this, there's a couple times where I got kind of pissed off because like there was literally nothing I could do, where my monk went from 100% health, like 200 hit points, to dead in 2 hits. I'm like, what the actual fuck am I supposed to do?
Oh dang.
Speaking of which, we should what's everybody's party loadout, because there was some choice to be made there.
Larry, go for it.
4 white mages, baby.
Just kidding. No, you didn't.
No, just kidding. Not just kidding. I have a warrior, I have a monk, I have a white mage, and a black mage. And they are Tom is the black mage, Travis is the monk. I gotta say, Tom, Travis is kicking ass. That's me.
The monk. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mine are, I guess, the warrior. But not because the monk is the default, right? I switched
to the warrior's the default. The default was warrior, thief, black mage, white mage was the default.
All right, then I thought the monk was the second one. Anyway, I've got warrior, thief, black, white mage, and I named them after. I don't know. I picked this up too late when I started it, and I was doing a bunch of dinking around, and so this idea is really. I named them after characters from the comic strip Garfield. So I've got Garf is my warrior, Nermal is my thief, John is the white mage, and Odie is the black mage.
I was going to say, Travis is going to like this.
Oh, dude, you got Nermal up in there too. I freaking love it. Most people forget that Nermal even existed.
Nermal's the best, man.
Oh, yeah.
There's a really funny recurring bit on 30 Rock about, I think, Tracy Morgan's character being in a Garfield movie, and that was in my head. It's like, yeah, let's do it.
That's so funny.
Normal rocks, man. It's weird. He gets criticals all the time, and often will hit for more damage than my warrior, but is not nearly as tanky. So,
yeah, I end up with the same build as Larry. I have the warrior, the monk, the black mage, and the white mage. I steer clear of red mages most of the time. The reason being is, from my experience in them, they usually are good early, but then start sucking towards mid to late game historically. So I was like, I'm not going to take a chance.
The black mage really took a while to be useful.
Oh yeah, took a while. But then it's a beast. I mean,
he's the only one that can do area of effect stuff, right? So
I was just say, by the second town, I was pretty stoked with my mage, because that's when you get the first AoE spells for him, and then it's like, oh, there's 9 things in front of me. Let me cast one spell, and he just wipes the floor with all 9 of them.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't do anything cute with any of my naming conventions, although my black mage will be one that Larry would recognize, and hopefully you don't get copyright struck for this. But it's Raceland, so.
Oh wow. That's cool. You ever read Dragonlance, Tom?
No, I don't know this.
Poor you.
Yeah. Well, at least for the original stuff, but I don't know how it is anymore.
I don't know. This is D&D novels, basically.
Got it.
Raceland was I thought he was a red mage, actually. I mean,
he started off as a red mage and became a black mage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's cool. Oh, memories from that. But yeah, I thought, getting to the Chaos Shrine this time for me at least was totally straightforward. The story is that the king's daughter is taken. You go there and find Garland, who has taken the princess to do some sort of fucking ritual or whatever to bring the evil into the world or whatever.
Garland sucks, man. I steamrolled that guy. That was like big nothing burger.
I've found that about the bosses so far in this game. What about you?
At least I got jumped by I'm skipping forward, but the boss of the Marsh Shrine, I died to that and had to do that one.
Oh, the Pisco Demon or
a little squad of those guys. But short of that, none of it has been, as long as you're not going in like kind of ravaged by 40 straight random encounters kind of thing. Like if you've healed recently, they're not bad.
Yeah.
I haven't had any issues with any of the bosses so far. They've all been pretty straightforward. But then I've also, I don't know how far beyond where we're supposed to be you've gone, Larry. But
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go for it.
I am all the way to past Crescent Lake. I'm right at the volcano right now, Mount Gulg.
Man.
Where is that? What number is that?
That's 10. I'm in the middle of 10, basically.
Okay, what level is your party?
27, 28.
Okay, I'm 25.
Oh, wow. Whoa. And where are you?
I'm at, to be fair, I went through Mount Druger, so I'm right at 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But literally, I stopped, but I wanted to play the game, so I just sat there and just
you just grinded
an hour or two just grinding. Because
those
I was
who followed the rules and finished it 5 minutes before we needed to hop on. My guys are at I think 17, just after getting the magic stuff from. Is it the first town that has where you use the magic key? I can't remember.
Where you go back and use it, you mean?
Yeah.
There are lots of places you go back and use it.
There's lots of places, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that was the as soon as I got the magic key, I think it's in Cornelia where, I'm pretty, like, when I find a new town, I usually try and methodically go to every single place. Mm-hmm. And in Cornelia, there's hey, there's some good shit in this room, but it's locked. So come back later, loser. And so that was the first. I was like, I'm going to show that little purple dude what's what, and I'm going to go. And he's all excited when you come back. He's like, oh, it's time. I hope it's useful. There's a freaking tent in there. No thanks, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you go back, the Temple of Chaos has stuff on the right-hand side that the key now opens up. The castle outside Elfheim has stuff that you can get to, and then you got the stuff in the Wester Keep already. And then, what was the other one? The Marsh Cave.
Marsh Cave, yeah.
Yeah, there's more stuff in there that you can open up. And some of it I was like, oh, sweet. And half of it I was sitting going, yeah, this is yay, another antidote or something like that. I was like, oh, that's super not useful.
Do we know if that's original to the game? That's the key.
I don't know. I'm going to guess yes, only because today I started playing the recent release of Dragon Quest III HD 2D. Uh-huh. And literally your first quest is to find a key that can do exactly the same thing. It's just this has got to be a trope from early JRPGs.
Which is, it's a pretty clever, device to get more mileage out of the game, right? It's I'm looking at the map of the Chaos Shrine now that we're talking about this, and it's oh, shit, I didn't know there were treasure chests in there.
Yeah. Uh-huh, yeah. Yep.
I just walked right in and said, hey, Garland, let's do this. So now it's I probably am going to go back there and look for that stuff.
Usually when I walk into a place, I hold Y. I think it's Y or X, whatever. You hold a button, it opens the map, and you can kind of scroll around and see what's there. And I just Yeah, I just like to go around and wherever there's a door, try to get in. Because I've honestly found quite a few useful things in those chests. There's antidotes and tents, but I also found like mithril armor and a mithril axe and a shit ton of gil.
That Y thing is awesome, man. Okay. Did you guys get the secret hint? And who's the lady missing the eye? Or it's a dude? I don't know who it is.
Which
it was the witch.
Oh yeah.
Did you get the hint from the brooms?
I did not get it. I heard it on the podcast later when I was listening. I was like, what the fuck? I completely missed that. Yeah. But did you get it?
I went back there because I thought I was doing this out of order. Like I went to at some point she says that she can brew. Somebody says that the witch can brew potions, and you get to Elfheim. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but then right. They're like, oh, the prince is asleep. He needs a potion. It's like, oh, I know where potions come from. So I went up there again, and it was like she still just whines about not having her eye. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I must have missed something. But while I was there, it's like, what's up with these stupid brooms? They all say the same thing. and yeah, it was like, that's like the vowels and the consonants are there. It's like, is that just written backwards? And it is. So yeah, that's a useful little trick too, to kind of wayfind through the world what that opens up.
I mean, I talked to the brooms, but I don't remember shit about them.
Yeah, it's just like garbled nonsense, and I ignored it.
They say a little rhyme, and then the thing at the end is nonsense. But it's cancel and left Z or something like that, or L. Which one is it? Yeah, it's left Z or something like that. And it's just that. It's just that those two words spelled backwards. That's all it is.
And then what happens when you press those buttons? Is that what it's saying?
It brings up, when you're on the overworld, it brings up like a special kind of map where you can scroll through the locations and it will point on the map where that place is.
Oh, I thought it did that anyways.
I mean, it does. It's just, they're literally telling you the command to access that.
Oh, okay. Got it. Well, I thought I was trying to tell you like how to solve the puzzle, like to find the witch's eye, but
not at all. Which was like, this is nice, but it doesn't help me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I felt clever for having seen it. So.
And it only shows you places you've been too. Okay,
that's what I thought too. It just shows you places you've been. Yeah.
It has grayed out dots though, where there are other places to go.
Even cooler. I just noticed this too, is it tells you how many chests are in each one of those locations and tells you how many you've picked up.
Oh. Just by holding B and ZL?
So, well, for me, then when you select the location, on mine it shows you like, so for example, I'm hovering over Cornelia, right, or Cornelia, and it shows me everything that's in there by way of towns, and then it says chest 0 out of 0. But if I go to Chaos Shrine, it says I have 6 out of 13 chests, which tells me there's
13, as advertised.
Which tells me the Chaos Shrine is much larger than what we initially thought, and we're probably going to have to go back to it at some point in time.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Huh. Okay,
that's got to be a new thing.
I
can't imagine that was.
Yeah, I wonder how much is new and different, and how much is the same from before.
Like now it tells me that I have 16 out of 24 out of the Cavern of Earth, so I'm going to assume I have to go back through that at some point in time.
Well, the Cavern of Earth, was that the one?
That's the one right
later, after. So we'll get to that later.
Spoilers, guys.
We'll get to that later. Yep. We'll do that. I know why. Anyway, a couple of things I thought was funny. One was the pirate battle in the town of Pravoka, where it's like you get jumped by these pirates and you defeat them, and then the main pirate, BK, I think his name was, is like, I've changed my ways. Here, have my pirate ship.
Like, right? Don't need this anymore.
Yeah, you just gave me your whole pirate ship? Cool, thanks.
Okay.
Convenient way to get something to move around the world. What'd you find, Jeff?
So have you guys tried pressing the right and left bumpers when in the overworld?
No.
Yeah. You can change the dude, right?
It changes your character. So Yep. Sorry, I just found this out. Now the mage looks like this little freaking fat, like blue freaking pork bun. That's what it reminds me of, as a blue pork bun.
That's how I used my white mage to go around the world. I was like, I accidentally hit the bumper. I was like, oh, cool. I can switch it.
Sorry, I'm being...
In the original one, apparently on the podcast I was listening to, if you die, then whoever is still alive, it kind of like pushes up. So someone else becomes the top person. And then that's the person who is your avatar in the overworld until you reset it. So that's also different.
With my warrior being the first one initially and then having way more hit points than anything's ever been able to do to him.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't experienced that. The only ones I've had die on me so far have been my mage and my monk. And like I said, the monk got kind of hosed where he got hit 2 back-to-back for 100 hit points each. And I was like, oh, okay.
I have something kitted out on my warrior where like nothing hurts him. It's not that he has a ton of HP and can just absorb a bunch of stuff. It's like I can count on one hand the number of enemies who can do like more than 5 damage.
Hit point.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. Same with mine.
Yep. I don't know if it's like a high defense or what.
Yeah, I'm going to assume it's the armor because the warrior's the only ones using, actual armor.
Like yeah, okay.
And then the shield too, right? You pull out the shield and misses completely.
Yeah.
I don't know if the shield adds armor, but it just kind of gives you a block chance, is my assumption.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like the mage, both the black mage and the white mage are wearing cloth. And then my monk is wearing nothing except for the bracelet. So...
Yeah, once I learned to like strip the monk of everything, like he has no weapon anymore. He's got no clothes.
Just the accessory.
Without stuff,
just
right?
the accessory, exactly. He's better without stuff. He hits better. He hits more hits. I think they do perhaps less damage.
Like, is that a secret thing, or does the menu say like, "Hey, his stats are going to go down if you equip this stuff"?
Well, you see whenever. So the reason why I took the armor off of him before. Well, like Larry made the comment about taking the weapon off because I was running around with the nunchuck on him at first, but I randomly took the armor off. I can't remember what. Oh no, I bought armor to put on him because like, oh, he can wear leather armor. Like, sweet, I bought it. Went to put it on him. I immediately saw that the defense didn't change, but the evasion number got worse.
Yep.
So then I took off that armor and saw that when he had nothing on, I was like, okay, his defense stayed the same, his evasion skyrocketed. Went to put the cloth armor back on him, and again, defense remained the same, and evasion went down. So I was like, okay, screw this. He's running without armor, and then Larry's like, hey, take off the weapon. They hit more often or do more hits. So I tried that on a whim. It's like, holy crap, it's just night and day in what he does.
That's awesome.
Well, and I mean, this game's out so long that there's just like a deep well of knowledge about the NES game, and then it's had so many iterations that it's just I've just heard that through the ether. But then my guy was like, my warrior kept increasing his damage, but my monk wasn't doing that well. So I did take it off, and I was like, okay, let me see how that works. And it went from doing like 45 damage to like 170. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So yeah, that monk is a beast.
Have you guys noticed the leveling curves on this are like really bizarre? Like for instance, they're not linear, is I guess what I mean to say. Like my warrior or my thief will go, it's like, oh, you leveled up and your HP went up by 3. Or another level, it goes up by 2. Like all these like piddly, and then I'll hit some key level and it's like, your HP went up by 25 or something like that. Which I think is weird.
It was more noticeable for me on the black mage because I noticed how everyone else in the first few levels were getting up into like 60, 70, 80 hit points. Even the white mage was like over like around 60. Yes. And the black mage was still like at 32. And I'm like, what the actual F, man? Like these things are hitting for that hard. And I'm trying so hard to keep the black mage from getting one-shotted. But yeah, I've noticed that more with the squishier ones like the black mage than what I did with the warrior, primarily because I just never, from the get-go, he was only taking 1 hit. So I didn't pay, or 1 hit point per attack, so I wasn't really paying much attention to what their hit points was until here recently I realized he's like over 400 hit points. And the next closest, I think, is my monk at like 240 or something like that.
So I'm looking at I'm looking at fandom. So I'll tell your wife I'm looking at fandom. But it's talking about the stat growth for Final Fantasy 1, and the math is on level up, characters always gain some HP. If they use magic, they also can gain some MP. The amount of HP gained is equal to the floor, which is stamina divided by 4 plus 1. So whatever your stamina is, it seems like that would be constant, though.
That's what I mean. I ought to pay. It caught me as weird the first time, and so I've been paying really close attention to it, and it's just strange. Yeah, I mean that sounds like it should be, or some kind of proportional, right?
There's another step here that says strong increases in HP are larger increases beyond the usual amount gained from level up. These stack with the guaranteed increases from above the stamina divided by 4 plus 1. Strong HP level ups include an additional 20 to 25, but they're not every level. It's characters have a 1 in 8 chance in increasing those stats to get a strong HP.
That must be what I'm seeing. Because that's about there's normal this normal incremental thing where it's a couple each time, and then every once in a while it's just like a chunk.
Yeah, I'm curious of how random that is now. I kind of want
fandom saying is 1 in 8 chance. So.
Right. Well. So what I'm getting at is when you get to level 30, Larry, all your characters hit level 30. Mm-hmm. Mark down how many hit points each one of them has, what their max is.
Okay.
And then when I hit 30, I'll do the same. And then Tom, when you hit 30, you do the same. And we're going to compare to see, because even though you have a thief and we don't, we can at least see if our warriors, our black mage and our white mages are hitting the same numbers. So I wanted to see if it's random or if it's already predetermined, like, hey, this is a certain level where you're going to get the big bonus or not. Because if it's random, in theory, we should have different numbers for those characters.
You should, exactly. I'm just struck by how much like D&D this game is in playing it, where, you have the spell, your level 1 spell, level 2 spell, level 3 spell, etc. And then you use spell slots basically, and then you have to like long rest basically to recharge. The way the stats increase, the amount of times you miss when you're attacking just reminds you of rolling dice and just not hitting their armor class or whatever. It's just, I know, we talked last week about how influenced the creators were by D&D, but God, it feels like a pretty solid D&D interpretation for early NES.
I mean, this was what, 90 or 80?
87 when it came out in Japan.
So this is 4 years after D&D 3rd edition was released, which was arguably one of their biggest.
Right.
I mean, 3rd edition lasted 20 years before they got to 3.5. So I'm not super. It makes sense, right? Like this is probably at the height of D&D's.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Popularity. So yeah.
It makes sense why. It's just I'm just so surprised. Like I haven't felt that in later Final Fantasies. Like it just feels like role playing, like a role playing game, a JRPG or whatever. But the D&D stuff is so clear early on that now when I look into the future, like I can't remember the names, but like Fira, Faraga, whatever, like the way that they increase, as you gain experience, whatever, is kind of like a first level, second level, third level spell. Even though it doesn't hold the same mechanics that like we see in Final Fantasy 1 here, where like you use enough, you have 5 spell slots for level 2 or whatever. Then when you use them, you don't get to use any more spells until you rest.
I mean, it kind of makes sense because now that I think about it, I didn't get into Final Fantasy till 7, and 7 was, as I recall, the first deviation from the original ones. Where 7, as I recall, was the first one where classes weren't predetermined. The materia system was completely off the wall random. So it's kind of like when I got into Final Fantasy and then when you were kind of introduced into it was post this massive D&D influence where they started to kind of branch out and make it their own.
Yeah, they left a lot of that behind at that point.
Yeah,
and the things that had grown through those first several iterations of Final Fantasy, they're still remnant in the game, but they don't have the trappings of D&D. Like I don't instantly look at it and think, oh, it's from D&D. Whereas this game, I look at it, I'm like, holy shit, that's D&D. This is D&D.
Right. Yeah, because spell slots. Yeah, that actually now. Yeah, I guess because since I play D&D still, I don't notice it in the game so much. I just think it's kind of part of my overall experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it never stands out to me, so I'm just so used to it. But now that you point it out, I'm like, actually, yeah, that is right. I mean, my one big qualm is the fact that the fire and thunder spells are the same level, but for whatever reason, blizzards or cold spells are a level above it. Yeah. I'm like, what the heck, man? Why aren't these all the same ones? But along those lines, have you bought a fourth spell at the same level? Like, have you seen what happens when you do that, or do you just buy the 3 that you want and then leave it alone?
I've only bought the 3 and then leave it alone.
You can forget them if you want. You can go in and you can say forget how to do such and such spell. It opens up a slot, and then you have to go and pay to learn the next thing that you put in there.
Right. So that means you'd have to pay to relearn that one if you like. I missed that one.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I think there are only 4 at each level, and so you're only missing out on one thing.
And as you get a little further along, there are 4, but one of them you can't take because it's the upgraded class, basically.
Oh, I wouldn't know. The only spell that I've come across that I couldn't buy was in Elfheim, and it was the teleport spell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, it's a higher level spell.
You need to advance the class before
you advance your class. So you can't be a mage. You got to be a wizard.
I thought that was just a red mage spell is what my assumption was.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Okay.
Yes, because I was like, what the fuck? I thought I broke something. I was like, I have fucked this up. Why can't I get the teleport spell? It's like Googled it and it's like, oh, you need to be a wizard. I was like, okay. So I assume there's a way to advance to be a wizard because there was no wizard at the beginning. So I'm assuming that's what happens.
I read a little bit about the class when I was picking which guys I would have at the very beginning. I was like, oh, where are they headed? And yeah, you get wizards later.
Oh, cool.
I think at level 30, I think is where I would imagine it's going to be around 11. I can talk tonight. I imagine it'll be around level 30. Holy crap. Because what I think I saw somewhere around is people saying, when I was looking at the boss list, they were recommending like level 45, level 50 to kill some of the bosses. And I'm sitting there going, oh, well, if that's the case. And then the original game was like 54, I think was the max.
Really? Okay.
And the Pixel Remasters is when they bumped it up to 99. So I think that would make sense that around, I would imagine between 25 and 30 would be where they would have you upgrading your class.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I wonder if when you upgrade, if you get an extra spell slot, like you get 4 and you can have all of them, or if it's still, you got to choose. Like,
I doubt it, because looking at the menus, they don't have enough room for a 4th one hanging off on the edge.
Well, I hope they don't, because the same thing with choosing the folks at the beginning for your party, it kind of lends to, like, I don't know, building a different loadout or replayability even. So,
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, like, in terms of the loadout, when you guys buy the spells, obviously I think we're buying like the attack magic, like set people on fire, throw lightning out on icicle, whatever.
The black mage,
bother with any of like the stat stuff? Like, oh, your ally goes faster or something like that. Do you do any of that?
Haste? Yeah, I buy haste.
Haste. Hell yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Haste and slow and darkness. I've gotten all of those when I get them, and they are a lifesaver in a couple of them, because some of the, especially whenever you get the large groups.
Yeah, you need early area of effect. That's like
early on, the darkness spell was a lifesaver, because you can get that and it hits everything before you get your first Faraga, to where it was your first AoE. Mm-hmm. So I was casting that, and it was helping me get through those groups a lot faster. And then I'm sure we're going to run across things.
Confusion, and that's really fun to use on the big groups.
I almost got that one, but I didn't. But yeah, haste and slow, those are very helpful.
Yep, I use those quite a bit,
especially on bosses. Because if you're a warrior or you're thief, for you, if you haste either one of those, they get 2 attacks in a round. That's awesome. You double their damage essentially. Well, you do double their damage. So, and they're probably hitting like trucks as it is.
Yes. Okay, well, that's good. I got to go back and grab that one then. I think I got extra slots. So.
When you were in Elfheim, this is a different thing here. I got there at least. I was like talking to this little elf dude. I was like, dude, that looks like Link. So,
They do look like Link.
Did you go to the gravestones?
Oh, where Link is dead.
Here lies Link.
I knew about that actually, and it was
really?
crazy to have read about that coming from being, Zelda deep in, and to see that and go, oh, whoa! I remember hearing about this. It's there.
It's just crazy that they pulled that off. I mean, did they know? Well, actually, wait, no, this was NES, so they knew Legend of Zelda was in development then.
Well, the original Zelda came out in '86, I thought. So this one came out in '87.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. They had to know that the original Legend of Zelda was in development to put Link in there, or is Link something else that I just don't know about in Japanese culture and history?
No. I think it's intentional because in Zelda, Larry, do you know where I'm going with this?
I'm not
Zelda
sure.
2?
No. Oh, Zelda 2?
Link's Awakening?
Link's Adventure?
Or Link's Adventure,
yeah. No, because I did not jive with that game.
Oh, I love that game.
That game sucks. No, it's okay.
Oh my God.
Supposedly there is, I got to remind myself of this. I want to say that there is a grave and it has a name on it. Oh man, this is going to annoy me. I'm not going to be able to find it right now. There was like some back and forth. So for one, I don't think it was intended as a dig. It was like a tip of the hat. Like, oh, this other famous, game for the NES that people really like or whatever. And so they put Link on there. I want to say in Zelda 2, they picked some meaningful like square name and put them on a tombstone in the Zelda game. I think.
Ooh, interesting. Well, I'm seeing here that originally in Japan it said "Here Lies Link," but when it came to the U.S. in 1990, it said "Here Lies Erdrick," which
Erdrick. Is that a Dragon Age guy or something?
It's Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest.
Yeah, it's the main character from Dragon Quest, which was developed by Spike Chunsoft, but was published by Enix. But then it was quickly changed back to what was originally on the Japanese version of FF1, which was Here Lies Link Always.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of then, because I remember there was like a connection between two games, and maybe it was just that they flipped it back and forth and stuff like that. So
yeah, because the original US version had Erdrick, so it was Dragon Quest instead. So weird. It's so interesting. Yeah. I was like, dude, those sprites, that's fucking Link. What the hell is happening?
Elfheim's cool though.
I liked Elfheim, yeah.
Lush with magic shops, which was kind of fun and unexpected.
Yep.
I just kept going back to the first town to use the inn there.
Because it was cheaper. You don't want the scaling for the money for the inn.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, oh wait, I pay more for the exact same thing. Screw this. I'm going back to and that's how I leveled up. Is because if you're in the ship out in the water, you fight much higher level mobs.
Yeah.
Even if you're right next to that original town. So I just did that and then would pop into that town, pay 50 gil to get
money that you pick up from those random encounters further offsets what you would have spent. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm cheap.
No, that's what I'm saying though. It's the effect is doubled. You going out of your way to save money, you have to fight more trash mobs, and you get money from those encounters, and so it's even more to your advantage to do that.
I'm surprised at how much I love this game because I don't know, early era JRPGs are not really my jam. And I think the quality of life, I think is doing a lot for me here. Because there are moments where I got deep into a dungeon and I was like, okay, I got to walk back out of this dungeon. I'm just going to turn off random encounters for a couple floors so I can kind of get through here a little quicker. Obviously the push pull of leveling up by doing that, but in the original game, obviously you couldn't do that. So it was just prolong that. And that, if you're low on healing and can't get your characters back up, then you're going to die if you can't turn off those things or whatever. So I think for me at least, I'm enjoying some of those features so that I can have a more or a less frustrating experience with the overall thing. So because of all that, I'm loving this.
All right, I want to put a pin in that for just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I did find the gravestone thing started in Zelda 2. One of the gravestones in Saria reads, "The hero Loto rests here." Loto is the legendary hero of the Dragon Quest series, called Erdrick in the North American NES release, but changed back to Loto for Game Boy Color, blah, blah, blah. So the first shots fired were Zelda 2. And then this continued in the Final Fantasy game in the series in the town of Elfheim. In the Japanese version, one of the graves reads, "Here lies Link."
When did Zelda 2 release? Do you know?
It was a year after.
88 or 89.
Because Final Fantasy 1 came out in 87.
Zelda 2
in Japan, I thought. In America, it came out in 90.
Japan, 2000.
January of 87.
Yeah. There you go.
So it came out
early 87. Yeah.
Yeah.
Power move. I was distracted by that. Larry, I want to go back to what you were just saying.
Wow. Okay. This is January 87. That surprised the shit out of me.
You can turn off the encounters?
Yes. I haven't done it at all.
You can. Yeah. It helped me get out of a dungeon where I was like, I'm just not going to fight 12, 50 battles.
I wanted to get out of that freaking marsh cave.
Exactly. That's where I used it. That's where I used it, man. It's like, get me out of here. I turn it off, then turn it right back on. You can also, it's in the boost mode in the settings, so you can, increase your experience gained or your gil gained as well.
Oh, you can just like grind faster.
Yeah. 2x. So yeah, I would do, when I turned it off, I would then turn on the 2x for a little bit to catch up what I missed. I just wanted to get out of that place.
That's really cool.
Man, I'm surprised Zelda 2 came out in January of 87 when Zelda 1 came out in 86. Not used to these things coming out so fast.
And I did not. So I'm like, how fast did they grind out these games back in the 80s?
Yeah.
I think Zelda 2, if you go into the... I'm spitballing here, but I want to say that like it was a different game. It started off as not a Zelda game.
And it had to be.
And then they say, people really like Zelda. Slap a Link sprite on that dude, and then they kind of took it from there, sort of deal. Which I think is pretty common, right? Didn't that happen with whatever Mario 2 was?
It did Mario 2, yeah, because it was Doki Doki.
Yeah.
And then they're like, just put a Mario skin on it. Yeah. This cannot be right. Says Legend of Zelda released in August of 1987. That's not right. That's a U.S. release. Excuse me.
U.S. release, yeah.
Got it. Where's the Japan release?
It was 86.
Yeah, that makes sense. Crazy. So then they put that in 87, and then Final Fantasy 11, Jesus. Final Fantasy 1 came out later in 87, so they already started Zelda 2 with the grave thing and put it into Final Fantasy 1. Crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say Zelda 2 or Adventures of Link, January of 87. Final Fantasy 1, December of 87. And the original Zelda was released in February of 86.
Wow, February of 86? Oh, you're right. Yeah, so that came out, Jesus, over a year later to the States.
Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah, dude, I'm enjoying this, and I know you're saying it's your shit. This is not necessarily my shit, and I'm so glad we're playing this. I'm just enjoying it on its own merits, but also just seeing the beginning of all the Final Fantasy stuff that I'm enjoying in 7 Remake and 12, 15, 16. I mean, and all of those games I played this year. Like, this is my Final Fantasy year, man.
Yeah.
If I had a complaint, it is my same complaint that I have about all of these games of this era, which is that I don't mind to do this stuff. I like doing the stuff. Doing the things is fun. But sometimes you finish a thing and it's just like, oh, you finished the thing. It's like, well, where do I go next? Like, what's next? And then just figure it out, man. We're not helping you here.
Talk to everyone in town and try to figure out their cryptic clues.
I mean, I don't know. To me, that's I'm kind of used to that for a multitude of reasons. I mean, Dark Souls is pretty much that way. Any one of the Souls games is kind of like, hey, here you are, go figure this shit out on your own. But even back, if you think about it, the original Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, all those old games, they didn't tell you what to do. You just trial and error your way through that shit until you figured it out. And I can see where these things, if a game like this was released now, I think it would struggle to find an audience because things nowadays I feel like just handhold you way more than what they used to.
Yeah.
Well, so going back to something that we learned about Final Fantasy Adventure, I'm looking through this, and sure enough, the manual is basically a strategy guide. They're telling you, well, I'm up through the Dwarf Cave, find Astos, the Marsh Cave, and how far does this go? Earth Cave, Volcano. I think they've got the whole game in here, or maybe not the whole thing, but it goes up through the Ryukon Desert and the Ice Cave. And it has these things. I'm just scrolling through it, at least for the part that we've played. They are basically listed, a page on each one, where it is, and they're in order. So I think they're telling you that's how you're supposed to know, right? If it seems like something is missing in terms of how would anybody know to do that next, it's because there was a 70-page book that came with this thing that would tell you.
Yeah. Luckily now we have guides. People who've I like this, it'll be in the notes for the podcast listeners, but RPG site, it's just very minimal. It doesn't really spoil.
Yeah, that's nice.
Here's what to do next if you get stuck. But for the most part, it's been fairly straightforward. I'm surprised, to be honest. Again, for being such an early JRPG, I'm just feeling like what to do next is so esoteric, like you were saying. Yeah. It has felt pretty locked in. Haven't gotten lost too much.
And I think and to some extent, there's only one thing you can do next, right? It's not like, there's 100 different things and I don't know which one to choose. It's like, no, it's running around until you find the one thing you couldn't get to before. But the only thing that I think makes that tiresome is the encounters, which is fine, and that's part of it, right? That's RPGs. Like, if you don't like that, then you've come to the wrong place. I think that the thing that annoys me is that once you get to a point where I can just hold the A button, and even my worst dudes will kill whatever we're running into, no problem.
Yeah.
That's when it gets a little bit this kind of sucks now. Just because you're waiting for the animations to finish, that's a little bit where, and I guess now I know I can just switch that off. But I want to fight harder things because that makes those battles more engaging.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking at the original manual, and it looks like there was only 6 items in the game originally.
Interesting.
A heal potion that restores hit points, a soft potion that will cure stone, a pure potion that cures poison, a tent, a house, and a cabin.
Have you guys used any of those?
I used the cottage or the cabin, whatever it is, but only a couple times.
I've used the tent.
You can only use them on the overworld, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the time I'm in the overworld, it's I'm 2 minutes away from an inn. I guess it's just a convenience thing, but I've been hoarding those, thinking, I'm going to need this, and I never use them.
Dude, this manual is intense. Holy shit. Wow. I did not look at it. It's got maps of a lot of the places and really
check out page 71.
Okay, let me zoom all the way to 71. Are we all on archive.org? Is that what we're looking at?
I'm on
Nintendo.
Yeah, nintendo.co.jp.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. I'm on archive.org. Okay, page 71, avoid walking through lava, battle against the Fire Fiend. That one?
Harry, the Fire Fiend. This guy was in Final Fantasy Adventure, and he looked like that. He was a genie-looking dude with knives.
Right, that's right. This is strange. This says Yeah, I was about to point that out too. The fire orb is lit. Are they saying it's like lit, like it lit up, or are they like using it like the slang way?
I don't think the slang way existed like that.
No, I don't think so either. That's why it looks so weird. The fire orb is lit, man. All right. Interesting.
So the warrior becomes a knight, the monk becomes a ninja, the red wizard becomes a red whiz. That's
nice. Yep.
What?
Red whiz, white whiz, black whiz.
No. Oh, red mage becomes it.
A thief becomes a ninja. A monk becomes a grandmaster. A white wizard, a black wizard. Huh.
Interesting. And it changes the sprite.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
That's what this shows, at least.
Well, we'll see what it does in this version.
Yeah. We got all the spells in the back here. Wow, they really went all in on like, here's everything you need to know. Here's our fucking
level 8 nuke is a spell. All enemies melts everything with tremendous heat.
We had that in Final Fantasy Adventure, I think, in the desert where we broke the rock.
You got it from the Lich, right?
XXXX, one enemy, similar to but more effective than Rub. Those enemies are defeated completely. Rub?
Erases an enemy from the face of the earth.
What the fuck?
Whoa.
This is great. Oh, man. God bless whoever scanned this. This is great. Talk. Make sure to talk to everyone present in the castle again to receive new clues. Keep talking until their conversation no longer changes. Wow, it's like telling you everything if you get stuck. Cool. Well, this time we got all the way through to item 6, the Crystallite Jolt Tonic Mystic Key Nitro Powder. So now we are all ostensibly at Mount Durgar, or soon to be there.
Well, some of us are there.
Yeah.
One of us is not.
How far do you all want to try to attempt to go to?
I don't know, because you're already in 10?
Yeah, I'm in 10.
Which is what I probably would have said.
Yeah. So I will finish 10. I'll stop. I'll finish 10.
I don't believe you.
I will. I promise. I swear to God.
I know you'll finish it. I don't think you'll stop. That's what I'm getting you.
I promise. I promise I will stop. So let's go through 10 then.
Okay.
Get through the volcano.
So, Crescent Lake, Mount Gulg, and So is Marlilith a town?
Marlith is the boss. It's the fiend of fire. We get to light up another orb.
Sweet.
Light up another orb? I haven't lit up a single orb.
You have.
Hey, look out.
No, I haven't.
Lit, so.
You haven't?
I stopped at Melmond.
Well, I thought it got lit up before that. Okay, I could be wrong. So I
don't think so.
You're probably right. But where is it? Dun, 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 dun. Yep. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I was like, I haven't lit anything, man, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Never mind. Orbs are not lit. That never happens.
Tune in next week, dear listener. Larry's pretending that he hasn't already finished the game.
I did such a good job this podcast not talking about anything past where we are except for this one thing. Whoops. Okay. Well, anyways, thanks for listening. If you like our podcast, rate it on your podcast service of choice. And we'll be back next week to talk about all the way up through Crescent Lake, Mount Gulg, and Marlith. All right, folks. See you next week.